Well, joining us tonight now, we have the huge honour of interviewing Todd Funk for Easterfest TV. He's got to have the funkiest last name of a guy that I've ever met. Welcome, Todd.
It's good to be here. When I preached for Locky a few years ago, I got up when he played, what was it, We Want the Funk.
Oh,
I
no,
got
we
on
had
the
Funky
stage.
Town. Funky Town.
That's right, it was Funky Town.
Funky Town. I couldn't believe that you guys had never had that happen to you before.
Never. You were the first, man. You were the
Oh,
creative genius.
dude, I've got to get you back just so I can do a new audio bumper
I
when you
know.
come up to speak. Yeah. Next year's
Yeah,
Easterfest. Oh, there we go. So what we're doing,
yeah.
if you haven't tuned in before to Easterfest TV, is we're interviewing a couple of people around the nation that I think are interesting to talk to, might give you something to think about, and also we want to ask some personal questions. So how about we dive into that first? So do you have a first Easter memory or like a favourite Easter memory you could share with us?
Oh, gosh. And not a first, but I certainly remember a lot of Easter egg hunts when we were young, and half the eggs didn't get found till months later, and they were pretty rotten and putrid.
So was that in New Zealand or
No,
back in the
no, I didn't
States?
come to New Zealand. I didn't come to New Zealand until 2004, so I was like 40 years old at the time. Now, I grew up in Southern California where it never rained, and
Where
I
it
moved
never
to
rains.
Auckland. Yeah.
Yeah, well, at least you didn't move somewhere like Invercargill, where I'm from originally.
Is there more rain there than Auckland? Because, man, this is the rainiest place I've ever lived.
Probably find the climate's a little cooler.
Okay.
Yeah, and everyone just likes to complain that it's the bottom of the country, but I love it. It's where my family's from, so it's all good.
All right. All right.
So you've mentioned Easter eggs. Are Easter eggs your favourite Easter treat, or do you prefer Easter hot cross buns, or maybe a bit of both, or how do you feel about those
Yeah.
sorts of things?
Well, hot cross buns is certainly a Kiwi thing. It might be a British thing, but I'd never heard of them in the United States. So it was, yeah, Easter eggs, and of course we do Easter meals with a ham and green beans and the whole 9 yards there when I was back in the States with family.
Now I've seen some of your meals. You guys do like a Thanksgiving feast. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's out of this world. That's why Americans are so big. We don't need much of an excuse to have a big meal.
You know, I'm waiting on
Overeat.
my still waiting on my invite, but it hasn't happened.
Okay, next time we're down,
My
we'll
heart's
set
hurt.
Susan in
Yeah.
the kitchen to bake, and Donna will be in the kitchen to cook, and we'll sit there and talk theology or something.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I don't. You know, Sue. She loves saying that Donna is her sister from another Mister or something. It's
Yeah,
oh,
yeah, they
women.
are
I
two
have no
feet
idea.
in the past. Yeah.
Enough of that silly banter. I could do that for hours. Todd and
Uh,
I first met Easterfest number 2 when we did something called Thinking Matters. And Todd was
mm.
on a panel, and he was super intelligent and gave good answers. So we keep inviting him back to things.
Until I say something dumb or heretical, but here I go.
Yeah, well, then I've just hit the cut off button, and that's all okay.
All right,
Yeah,
all
no,
right,
don't worry, you're safe. Mo,
all right.
baby, it's all okay. So the question that we're asking as well is, is there something missing from the Easter narrative story, maybe in our culture, that people might not know that you'd really like them to know about?
Well, yeah, for sure. Especially being a Christian, it's about most important to me that people realize, especially at a young age, that Easter's not about bunnies and eggs and mythical creatures or whatever, but it is has its roots in a historical event, which is the resurrection of Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm. So, how about you? There's going to be a lot of people have heard something along those lines, and
Yeah,
probably rightly a little bit cynical or saying, yeah, look,
yeah,
it is a mythical story. How would you,
yeah,
how do you prove that, like this Good Friday, even the resurrection, is there
yeah,
any evidence for that or something like something
yeah.
you'd use to explain that to help?
Well, let me give you the slightly expanded version of an elevator conversation as to why I'm a Christian.
Hmm.
I'm a Christian because Christianity is based, it's a historically based religion. It's based on the historical account around the resurrection of Christ. If Christ really didn't raise from the dead, then we just got a moral code and a place to go on Sundays and social groups.
Mm.
But if he did, it is a game changer. And kind of in a nutshell, my biggest kind of reasonable argument, it goes something like this. It has to do with the disciples of Christ. There were 11 disciples, and one, hanged himself, as many people know in the story. That leaves 11, plus the Apostle Paul comes in later. So you've got these 12 men that they spent their entire lives preaching and teaching and telling everyone, giving their testimony about this God man that did miracles while he was alive and then rose from the dead. And most people say, okay, so what? But when you think a little deeper into it, that needs an explanation. In other words, these apostles, especially James, the half brother of Jesus, Jude, the half brother of Jesus, who both wrote in the Bible says that those two weren't even believing in him when Jesus was, before he died and raised from the dead. But you've got these men that of all people would have well known whether or not Jesus really did rise from the dead, whether it was a hoax, whether like some claim that they just stole the body. But if they did, and if it was a hoax, then you've got a big, big motive problem. What would motivate these guys to give the rest of their lives to the preaching of the gospel? Furthermore, some of them even died for their testimony. They were martyred. They wouldn't recant or refuse to say that no, Jesus Christ really did rise from the dead. We saw him, we witnessed him. And Lockie, I've never heard a good answer to that. And I've been asking that question. Who would live their
Mm.
life or die for a known lie?
Mm.
Not something they're mistaken about. That's very different. A known lie. And so I've never heard a good answer to that question.
It's awesome. No, because we all want to, I suppose, explain it to people. Um,
Yeah,
wow. And I liked having people like you share, hey, here, this is what I think, and getting
yeah,
just to portray a way that a Christian could explain it. Do you
yeah,
think it's worthwhile? I'm trying to work this balance in my own mind on how I even frame this. The
yeah.
difference between arguing with someone, presenting, explaining. How do you find works best with answering questions for a cynical person about things? Yeah.
Well, just like I said, asking the question. That's kind of the question I use to what I call put a pebble in their shoe. If you ever walked and done on a hike and you've got a pebble in your shoe, you pull your shoe off thinking a boulder's going to roll out, but a little teeny pebble's in there. Darn it, that stopped my walk. In the same way, a very strategic question can get people to stop and think about it. It makes their frolicky walk down the road, a little bit difficult. They'll have to contemplate the question, um, and that's what I do. And like I said, I've not heard a good explanation to that. One lady, I was on a plane, and she says, "Well, I kind of see it like this: that Jesus was kind of like one of these sociopaths. He didn't use that word, but one of these sociopaths like Charlie Manson or David Koresh or Jim Jones, who took people down to Guyana and had this mojo, this hypnotic power, and caused them to commit murders and murder themselves, commit suicide. And Jesus probably had that over these people." And I thought about it for a bit, and it was a plane ride. When we landed in Los Angeles, I said, that doesn't really add up
Mm.
because for several reasons. One is, like I mentioned earlier in this podcast, James and Jude were not believing in Jesus in his ministry while he was still alive on this earth. And then also, there's absolutely no good reason to believe, there's no evidence the Apostle Paul ever even met Jesus while Jesus was still alive. And yet, those people were ones that dedicated their lives. James was martyred for Christ, Paul was martyred for Christ.
Mm.
They gave their lives to it. So that doesn't add up. When you do just a little bit of research, and most of the objections to Christ rising from the dead, they're more far-fetched, they're more contrived, and difficult to believe than the hypothesis that God really did raise Jesus from the dead.
Mm. Awesome. We could probably talk about this for hours. Really, really
Oh,
good.
definitely.
So that's why
It's
we're
a
probably got
passionate
to get you
topic.
back to Topol.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's a passionate topic of mine, and it is a game changer, a deal breaker. If Jesus really did rise from the dead, then he is God, and we need to, listen to what he said. And he said he was the way, the truth, and the life, and he was the way to get relationship with his heavenly Father.
Awesome.
So it's an important topic.
So to help wrap this all up, because our time is up, what do you got planned for the rest of your Easter weekend?
Oh gosh, well Donna's going to cook. The family's going to come over. We'll have lots of family fun, and hopefully it'll be sunny up here in Auckland. It's supposed to be, but it's raining right now. So just family time mostly, and then Easter Sunday we're not sure where we'll go to church, or if it'll just be a little family get together, and we'll do some kind of a devotion and communion at that time.
Cool. Hey, thank you so much for taking the time to check in with us tonight. It's a huge honour. And all the best to you and your family this Easter time. And God bless you guys. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Locky, and God bless you and all your efforts and what you're doing there. Yeah, I pray that God just continues to breathe on you and bless you and just bless everything you do, my friend. Thanks
Awesome.
for calling.
No, thank you. We'll catch you real soon.
Oh, yeah.
Catch ya.
All right.